Hello, hello, hello. This is Performers
Hello.
Edge. I'm Linden Thorp.
Hi, I'm Minami Yusui.
And this is our second episode. I hope you watched last week. We talked about stage fright last week. And today we're talking about how to demystify performance. Performance is the big word of the moment in the business sector because people are being accused of performing in an artificial way. So what we want to talk about tonight is how to get back to that authentic self, which may have been turned into a script, a presentation style, camera awareness, all of these techniques which people are learning, but they're covering their true nature. So it's so difficult to find people who aren't really being themselves. So today we want to try and explore this. And Bozo, please tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Linden. I am Minami Yusui. And yes, I've been living in New York for more than 20 years now, but I was born and raised in Ishikawa, Japan. And I'm a Broadway performer, speaker, and founder of You Project. And I've spent over 20 years performing professionally all over the world, mainly on Broadway, all over the country, and also in Japan and internationally. And I help professionals apply performing arts tools, performing arts inspired tools to cultivate authentic communication, embodied presence, and leadership. And so they can elevate both their lives and business. And Linden.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, I must mention that we're streaming to LinkedIn members and YouTube members today. So welcome, everybody. Yes, maybe you know me quite well. I'm always out here doing live performances. But I'm Linden Thorp. I'm an embodiment mentor, as you can see from my label here. And I shouldn't have that label, actually. I've forgotten. Minami, sorry.
It's okay.
We decided not to, and I forgot. Oh, dear. Anyway, so basically, yes, I work with people to help them to be themselves. Trying to put this very simply. There is a way in which we have become remote to ourselves. That's because of social conditioning, all the roles we have to play, social expectations, and so on. So I spend a lot of my time working with mindfulness and meditation also to bring people down into their true nature, where they can feel really authentic and really comfortable being them. I think all around us, we're hearing people say, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. And of course, then we have imposter syndrome, and then we have lots of negative things happening. And one of the biggest things I deal with is burnout. And so people approach me when they feel they're burning out, and I try to reframe things with them. But I'm not a therapist, I'm a mentor. So that means that I'm not actually using talk so much, but I use Alexander technique, and I use Feldenkrais technique and voice work. So I can read a lot about people from the voice.
And when we talk about burnout, the performance, it is an important topic, right? How we are presenting ourselves to the world, and we're going to demystify this definition of performance. But if we are doing it in a way that's exhausting, it's not sustainable, then the burnout is inevitable. Almost.
That's right. And it happens to everybody in any sector. I mean, musicians burn out because they've got too much pressure,
Yeah, and then you yourself was a professional, and you trained classically, right? The piano.
Yes, I'm a classical pianist originally, so I did quite a lot of high-level performing in Europe
Yes.
And
In a
that,
professional music performance, like what is the real meaning of performance? And like what do you train? Like that goes beyond technical excellence.
Well, in my day, because I'm not young nowadays, I the training we got, I mean, we had no Alexander work, we had no Feldenkrais, nobody even thought about that. You just practiced for hours, maybe 8 hours a day, practicing as a pianist, locked in a room, really getting your muscles to memorize and so on. And basically, no one really taught us how to stand up there on the platform and take a bow and perform. It was all very surface level, really, at that stage, because we were still, I was trained in the UK at the College of Music, and we were still really very Victorian about the arts in those days. Teachers were very, very strict and very difficult often. They would not hesitate to criticize you. Reduce people quite often, and even men, because they were so stressed, and the teachers and the leaders would be so critical to enable you to stand up for yourself and be really totally self-reliant. And I think for me, that's what my training was. I was determined not to be insulted and belittled by these Victorian teachers. And so I was branded a real rebel in the Royal College of Music.
Psychological safety was definitely not there.
Absolutely. No, it was brutal, really brutal stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think you would believe it, Minami. I don't think you would believe it. Really brutal stuff, and many people were damaged by that. It's like it's abuse.
There's so many stories about it's very strict training, and it really can affect your life, the entire because
So
ruining your.
As a kind of performer, I feel that I overcame abuse really to be able to develop my own technique, my own strength. And at a very young age, really, I decided that the answers to performing were all in my body. I knew that. I knew that it was nothing to do with my mind. I knew that it was my nervous system, my body that were important. And I managed myself really in those days. But during that process, I became so strong. I just became so strong. And then later, Alexander invented this technique, which really echoed the things that I'd learned for myself. So I think I was lucky to be a self-starter, really, if you like. What about you? I mean, how did you become a performer?
How did I become a performer? I've always
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I started dancing when I was, I would say 5. So I was I enjoyed that, but I don't think I really truly enjoyed, like you said, like I feel like the school education and everything, we're praised for not making mistakes, right? Like doing it perfectly. So we become so careful, we become so conscious of failing or not doing it right, that I for many years I couldn't smile on stage. But then my senpai, who is a senior, older dancer in the school, she'll be so radiant on stage. I remember seeing her, and I strongly remember feeling, oh, I want to be like her. She was, the joy was coming through, and I feel the joy when I'm practicing and dancing with everyone. But why can I not do that on stage? And I think the gap was because we are become so self-conscious and try not to make any mistake and be perfect, or like so we don't get judged or criticized, because that becomes your trauma, right? Once you're criticized or judged, you will do everything it takes to not do that, not get that any
That's
like a
right.
harsh criticism. But then that minimizes us, that makes us shrink, right? And we become careful, and I feel like the authenticity misses the chance to come through and come out of us. And I feel like that's what we want to talk about today is performance. We tend to think it's something we put on, right? Like armor, or like something that the result at the external, some people say fake, something to put on. But we want to really talk about performance, but coming from ourselves, our true authentic selves. And I think that's going to be the key for burnout prevention or enjoyment of it or sustainability. And I think it will be, when, like, Linden, when was the moment when you realized, you said performing from your heart, was that something you always had, or was technical aspect first and then you eventually started learning how to really connect, or what was your journey like?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that I would say this is something to do with character in a way, because I'm a real mixture. I'm quite an extrovert, but I'm also quite an introvert too. I'm quite shy in some ways, and quite private. And so I felt a real kind of imposition, if you like, from the desire to be, or from the need to be out there, so vulnerable, so exposed, with hundreds of people and a huge piano and a stage you could fall over very easily on, and all of these kind of dangers that were out there. And so the first few performances were terrifying for me, and I remember that quite clearly. But I got through them. And actually, I was going to ask you, after a performance, I always felt so fantastic, this real sense of achievement, and a sense of having really met myself in a way. Because I think when we truly perform from the heart, that's what we do. We really connect with ourselves, and we really enjoy that. I mean, I think every human being has the most extraordinary resources. We have them all inside us, ready. We are enough, exactly as we are, exactly as we were born into the world, But then conditioning kicks in, and we start to get criticism. We start to move up into seeking approval from certain people to get on in the world, and so on. And so we lose touch with that. So I think I feel so lucky that I was in music, because really, once you're out there, no one can touch you. You are your boss. And you are the only person who can make this happen as a soloist.
It made me think of karaoke, actually. In Japanese, we say karaoke. Because why is it so popular in Japan? And in Japan, the karaoke is actually a Japanese word. Do you know where that came from, Linden? Oh, this is gonna be fun. Karaoke stands for, this is, not many people know this, but kara means empty.
Yes.
And oke is shortened word for orchestra. So that's empty orchestra in your room, because it's the instrumental music playing for you to accompany you. And I just realized this because karaoke is a place that's safe, right? It's an enclosed space, and then you can express your heart So people, it's our innate need and desire to express our heart and express ourselves. But because
Yeah.
outside of that room, we feel so unsafe. We feel so
Yes.
protective of our, afraid of the judgment. And so karaoke room, like the private room, I know America is more like a bar setting in front of people, but in Japan there's a whole building full of
Yeah,
multiple
I
rooms,
know.
individual rooms. Then people just like, go there and for hours and singing their hearts
Yeah.
out. And I feel like that's like we're doing it because that's a safe space, and but we still need to express, and then they feel so much better, and that's like a stress release. So
I
yeah.
think you're really right to bring this up because we have lots of in Japan. I live in Japan, by the way, and
Linden
so
has been living in Japan for 20 years, over 20 years.
and I see and I know through my students here, because I taught at university here, that people are so pressurized, as
Mhm.
saying, to do the right thing, to not make any mistakes, blah blah blah. And so many of my students, when you ask them what they did last night or over the weekend, they would say, "Oh, I went to karaoke and I really had a good sing, and then I felt much better."
Yeah.
So I think in this kind of society, in this collective society, there's so much stress around that. That's why there's so many karaoke bars, I think.
Yeah.
And
But I
I
feel
think
like
it's
there's gotta be a way, or we want to encourage somewhere
yeah,
in between. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. I feel like in our real world with other people, when we have to interact with people, when we get to interact with people, we can still bring our own essence, and we can still speak from our heart and communicate from our heart. And because of this black and white, or this all or nothing, when nobody's watching, we can express. And when we're
yeah,
with other people, we are careful. That's where the burnout and exhaustion comes, and what we call fake performance. But then when you leave the room, you're exhausted. It's hard to recover. So I feel like there is a way to bring ourselves, right? And that's when we really encourage embodiment, really using our body to get in touch. And yeah, for myself, to before audition or performance, we did this on the last episode, but breath, right? And getting in touch with our breath first, and checking with myself and how my body's doing. I teach this in my programs too, but very simple. But we aren't really taught this, like to really check in with our body and our
no,
heart. Like, how am I feeling? How is my body feeling today? We don't
yeah,
listen to it. We say, get up and do what the world wants you to do, instead of, i'm really I'm really tired today, like let me be a little more gentle today, or do something to actually energize my body, so then I can keep up with the pace. But we're not taught this, and I feel like that's a missing link.
Well, it is indeed, and I'm finding with my embodiment work that people have no idea really what's going on with themselves.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite a challenge to find a way to make them realize what's happening, because the main cause of burnout, as we mentioned, I think last week, is that we are switched on all the time here.
Yeah.
So this mind, what I call the brilliant but limited mind. I mean, it is brilliant. We can calculate, we can do all sorts of things with this mind, but it's limited. It's never, ever been meant to live from. If you think about human beings before language came into existence, how did they live? Well, certainly not from here, because it's actually, compared with the heart, it's a very small organ, this brain. The heart emits electromagnetic vibrations 60 times bigger, larger than this. So the heart is a supremely strong muscle. And to me, it's my brain. My heart is my brain. And this
there
is
is
my
a
tool.
scientific, they call it second brain.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. It is. And of course, if you know anything about anatomy, the heart has neuroconnections. So it always is aware of what's going on up here. But it's far wiser, and it will always tell the truth. Whereas this will not, because we're programmed to, do extraordinary, tricky things. And so, the mind, I never trust this. I always trust this, and when I have to make big decisions. And so people don't realize that. People are not in touch with their hearts. And I spoke to someone the other day, and I don't do much talking when I work with someone, and I just was quiet. And then I said, I think there's something happening in your heart, to him. And he was very surprised. And he said, and he touched his, not knowing really where it was.
Where is it?
Where is it? And I looked very pale for a moment, and I said, no, it's okay. It's just that I'm picking something up. I think your heart is very cramped. And so I did some diaphragmatic breathing with him, which, of course,
we did last time in episode 1.
Yeah. So by taking the diaphragm down, you make more space. And this is absolutely researched and a fact. And once the heart has more space, so very quickly, after just 2 or 3 little breaths, once he'd understood the diaphragm and what it does, he said, oh, yeah, I can feel so much more relaxed here, So it's many people are just not aware at all of the wisdom that their bodies have. I recently wrote a book, and I mentioned this last time too, but I think the title says it all. Your body is your business plan. And this book is devoted to avoiding burnout, especially in the business sector, where it's happening so much here in the business sector. So, if you want to make a good business decision, here, not here. Go to your heart, go to your breath, and you will make a much wiser decision. Yeah. So this is really what we want to demystify, because I think people in corporate work and in solopreneur work and so on are under the impression that they have to produce all this equipment, if you like, sort of scripts, camera positions and postures and photographs galore and so on. And all of that kind of preparation, which has become traditional, it seems, for presentations and for big meetings and so on in the business world, really has become a kind of shield to hide behind. And I feel that the business people I talk to are really doing that. And even the coaches, they're putting up this shield and saying, well, if you're feeling nervous, then you need a good script. If you're feeling you're not enough physically, then you need some good photographs, And so what I think you and I are talking about is throwing all away and realizing that, you can charm any audience by simply being you. And the more you are you, the more you will reach them, because human beings recognize other human beings. And they recognize, I think, very quickly when someone is not being truthful or authentic.
I think we've sensed that. And that has a lot to do with openness, right? Are we willing to share who we are, or are we feeling like this is because we are not enough, that we have to borrow something and put it on. But that's when we are being fake and not who we are and not sharing our true self. And that's, we can tell when people are open and willing to share, however imperfect it may look, but that's real. And that's when we believe, and that's what we gravitate towards and we feel drawn to. Even on stage, when that was something we had to train in the drama school. My teachers, one of the criteria, like part of the evaluation, was how much of yourself are you using into your performance. It was use of self was part of the, like, your words, your language, your diction, your all these technical points we have to hit, and use of self was one of them. Because, and that was so interesting, and I didn't know what that meant, because I was so put on. I thought acting was borrowing some mask that I from somewhere else and put it on, and it was not. It was, I had to dig in and discover who I was, and then use that and apply that to the performance. And that took me a while to really understand this concept. But this is the game changer. And in performance on stage, and also in real world and business world, anywhere, that's where humans feel drawn to people who are being who they are and owning who they are and can present and share, willing to share who they are, is real. And that's, we can just instinctively just very attracted and drawn to people who are open. And however perfect the perfect script is, or everything, all other elements might be, unless you share who you are, it's all very surfacey, right? Superficial. And there's only so much that people will choose you. That's not going to be the reason why they choose you. And it's just, does it make sense?
It does.
Your
and
uniqueness.
I think, yes, this is very common in the interview situation. So I talk to quite a lot of people about, how to hire people, in how to assess interviews. I myself have done a lot of interviewing in my days, academic interviewing, for teachers and students, interviewing graduate students and so on. And basically, in the choosing, in the selection process, I always gravitated to those people who I felt were really authentic, really being themselves, and really having enough courage to say, well, I didn't get very good grades in this area, and I'm not very good at this, but I'm quite good at this. Those who were willing to volunteer that kind of honesty, I was really drawn to them, and very often recommended we hired them. So yes, that illustrates, doesn't it, that it's not what we know that will get us, advance us. It's who we are, really, who we really are. But people have no idea how to find out who they are.
The key for any communication too. I feel like that's helps us connect immediately as real human beings, instead of this, when you're meeting somebody for the first time, and you feel like you have to present yourself in a certain way to impress them, but you're actually, it's taking longer for them to get to know you, because you're putting up this, surface mask.
Absolutely. I mean, life is too short for that kind of subterfuge. I feel that I always want to really go straight into getting to know someone. And it's very interesting culturally here in Japan, because as you know, in Japan, people are really quite shy, and they take a long time to trust you and to get to know you, and especially as a foreigner, basically, for me, what I do here in Japan, which may shock you, but quite soon, when I've met someone 2 or 3 times, I hug them. and they nearly faint, but they love it, and they realize that I trust them and they can trust me. And from that moment on, we have lovely time, much more open, much more relaxed, so I break that cultural rule of keeping distance, by just hugging them, and it's a kind of mutual. It's not, I'm not forcing anything.
Yeah.
So
but you said like you perform from your heart rather than fear, right? We've been talking about this, but what changes in the body and mind when you lead with heart, and how does that translate to leaders who are under scrutiny? Like,
yes,
what would you say?
yeah. Well, I think that the leaders who are going to survive and are going to succeed are those leaders who are willing to take space and take time with their teams, with their bosses, and so on. They're willing to take time to make decisions. They're willing to say, no, I'm not ready to decide yet, and be really honest and direct about what can be achieved or what cannot be achieved. And that kind of directness, that kind of honesty and openness is so attractive that those kind of leaders really have great teams.
But also, if you are so connected with your heart, I feel like decision almost comes instantly instead of logically or rationally thinking. Sometimes it can actually saves time because you kind know what's right.
Yes, of course, this mind will be, really weighing everything up, measuring it. I call it the measuring mind because it just spends the whole time measuring, and that takes time. But the body will tell the truth to you straight away, and it's instant, really. So you may meet someone and then have a strange feeling, and maybe there is a very good reason for that, maybe some problem here which you're picking up. So
is that what you mean by the serial killer story? Or
the serial killer story? Oh, wow. It's becoming quite famous story.
Can you share the story about this sensing a serial killer's beautiful spirit while you were performing? What was that?
Yes, you remember it. Wow. When I started out as a music therapist, because I was performing for about 10 years, and then I broke my two fingers here, and I'd had it at that stage. No way I was going to catch up, I'm afraid. And don't worry, it wasn't traumatic. I was tired anyway and glad to do something different. So I decided to use music as therapy. So I trained as a music therapist. And up in the north of England, we have many mental hospitals or psychiatric hospitals for the criminally insane, because there's a big crime rate in the UK. And they're always awful places, Victorian edifices, with really awful places. So my very first assignment was to go to this horrible psychiatric hospital in the middle of nowhere on a moor, so it's shrouded in fog, because they're always far away from everything. And I was only in my 20s, and I was absolutely terrified going into this place. And I had no idea what I was going to find in there. My first assignment, which I was prepared for, was to use music therapy to soothe a serial killer. And this serial killer had viciously killed 6 people. So I had the case history. I knew what he'd done. I even had photographs because we had to be informed, So you can imagine I was really terrified. I'd never met a single criminal in my life, I don't think, at that stage. So I was really terrified. But anyway, I was prepared by the supervisor who said, now, when you go into this very large space, there's a line and you must not cross that line. It's 30 meters away from the client and you must not go across that line. So that was terrifying. But I said, okay, great. So I got all my stuff, my guitars and flutes and voice and all sorts of stuff that I used, cymbals and so on, and started to make music and film gorgeous, big, huge Victorian kind of ballroom with sound. And he, the killer, was sitting at the very far end of the room. He was chained to a table with his wrist and chained to the table legs with his ankles. And he had two guards, two guards behind him. So I stayed behind my line and I moved around and I filled the room with space and sound and, you know, just for 30 minutes. And this went on. He liked me, apparently, so I was invited to go and do it again.
Oh.
And so I, you know, as time went on, I got more and more comfortable, you know. And so one day I looked over at him. I stopped what I was doing and I looked at him. And I looked into his eyes and I decided to step over the line.
Oh.
So I took this chance and I stepped over the line and I got a little bit closer and a little bit closer so that I could see into his eyes.
Yeah.
And what I saw was amazing because I saw this incredibly beautiful spirit in his eyes. And it took my breath away. That this person was such a beautiful person. I could see it through his eyes. So I told him. I stopped what I was doing. I said, look, I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you've done. You have a beautiful spirit. And, you know, something has driven you to do these terrible things. But your spirit is unscathed. So he cried, he sobbed. No one had ever taught him like that, you know. And so we became quite good friends. And he would tell me most weeks about these terrible things he'd done. And he would say, I have no idea what I did. No memory at all. This is very common with serial killers. And when I one day said to him, why were you pushed that limit? He said, my life just fell apart. My wife left me, and he named all these terrible things that had happened to him. Lost his job, blah, blah, blah. And he just was overwhelmed by his own failures. And so all the conflict that was going on around him as a result of it. And one day he just let go. And unfortunately, it meant someone lost their life. So I understood so clearly at that point that every human being has this amazing spirit. The human spirit. It's not religious. I'm not talking about religion in any way. I'm talking about the human spirit, which is what we come into the world with. And as babies, you know, we have this strong spirit. And basically, that spirit is the engine that drives us if we let it drive us. And so my feeling of performance is that in my case, I allowed my spirit to drive the car, if you like. My spirit, very strong spirit I have, and I allowed it. It just propelled me into the performance. And that's what I teach students to do. I teach them to get in touch with their spirit, because that's your essence, if you like. That's who you are, really.
Driving
and if
force.
You think about people, yes, the driving force. And if you think about people who are in really extreme situations, you know, like crashing on top of a mountain or marooned on a desert island or something like that, then they get through these things because of incredible spirit.
Yeah.
So that first experience with the serial killer for me was something that showed me that human behavior is very often not at all connected to who we are inside. I think we can apply this in a business situation, in any situation, really. Because if you want to be authentic, I think the main key is that your inner values match your outer behavior. And in the case of the serial killer, I could see that his inner values did not at all match the behavior that happened, that got him in much trouble.
It's like extreme case of how we push down who we are, so down that just the action and behavior just went to all the way to the other end of the spectrum.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And if we can be more in harmony with who we are, how we feel, with what we do, and how we interact, that the more coherent, and it's easier on us ourselves too, because we are not switching gears, we are not categorize or compartmentalize.
That's right. It's really exhausting to keep changing masks, have one mask for someone, one mask for another. But if you can be yourself all the time, and I have a Buddhist background, strong Buddhist background. I'm a Buddhist priest, actually. And so I have learned through my spiritual training that the way we act in the world very much depends on our spiritual direction, our compasses, if you like, our inner compasses. And, if we're not authentic, especially with ourselves, so if we're not, for example, if we're not self-compassionate, many people, this is another problem in the world today. People don't have compassion for themselves. They may have compassion for others, but they don't have it for themselves. That's where I started, feeling compassion for myself. Once I got in touch with that, and I was really motivated from me, then everything else was easy, because I just could attract the people who were attracted to me as I am, so simple and uncomplicated once you realize that that's what you have to do. So I'm keen to bring that into all my work and get people in touch with their spirit as well as their heart, their body, and their nervous system, and I feel that we are each unique spirits. No two spirits are the same, and we are unique. We have a unique lineage of ancestors behind us, and we're the kind of front-facing version, if you like. And I know that's an idea that will appeal to you because of Japan. We have a very strong tradition here of ancestor worship in Japan, and I think it's a fantastic thing. So I think authenticity comes from a really gorgeous place. If you can get there, you can get someone to guide you there. So what about you, Minami? Do you feel that you've really touched your own spirit? You mentioned earlier that you spent a long time finding out who you were, how much
we're talking about authentic performance right today. So yes, it is reflected, and I think going to acting school, I thought I will I'll learn to become someone else, right? Through stories, but turns out I had to learn who I was first. And that was a really great surprise. And they asked us, all of us, to bring ourselves, and I didn't know what that meant at all. And the very turning point, this story is, I used to, very first acting class, actually, like my whole drama school experience, the very first class, acting class, we had this assignment, and it was a very difficult text by George Bernard Shaw from Pygmalion, which is actually My Fair Lady is based on, but it's a play, and very classical text. So it's not the conversational contemporary language. So it was my second year in studying abroad, like a second year in America. So I could barely hold regular conversation yet then. So when I saw that assignment, I felt, oh my goodness, like I don't know any of these words. So let me look up these each words. So like to me, I had to just start with how to pronounce each word. When other, classmates were like, oh, how do I want to present or act, but I managed to learn it and memorize it, and I was ready to perform it in front of everyone. And back then I hated my big forehead. This was my complex. I didn't like it. I didn't want anybody to see it. So I used to have like bangs from all the way from the back. And then I would like pin it like 10 pins so it would never move, right? And then first thing my acting teacher told me when I was like nervous and ready to perform, it's like, Minami, hair up. And I went, what? Hair up? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like anything to do with my performance? Hair up, like. But I'm a good student. I'm from Japan, so I follow what teacher says. Instructions. I was like, okay. Then I tried to move it and like bring my hair up, but I couldn't. And that's when I felt, oh, there's something to this. It's not just physically removing my bangs out of my forehead. It was revealing myself, revealing the part that I don't like, the part that I don't want people to find out, which is related to me internally, my insecurity, my anger, my fear, my feeling, my imposter syndrome, my feeling not enough. Everything felt like that was going to be revealed. And that was a shocking moment to me. It was just mere act of raising your bangs, and that revealed opened a whole box of like my own journey of discovering myself. And I felt like, I thought like, acting was learning to become somebody else, borrowing and acting like somebody else. But it turns out to act a human being believably on stage, a real, when people to see shows, like, it's not a children's show where it's like you do it cute or do it whatever. It's more really like, how do I do an authentic performance? Meaning I had to know what real human beings were going through. And I didn't even know how I was feeling because I was hiding it from myself as well by covering my forehead. And I was pretending it wasn't even there. I was. And this first class just taught me so much that, like you have a lot to learn about yourself first. That's the baseline. Yes.
This is really good point, I think, because visibility is a big topic now, isn't it? Visibility is important online. Being as visible as often as you can is important if you want to get on. But visibility needs to be ethical too. And in fact, I did some work on this recently in my Your Body is Your Business Plan masterclass. So if we're going to be ethically visible, then we, first of all, have to be self-compassionate, and we have to know exactly who we are and how it will translate when we become visible. And most people skip that step because they have no idea how to find out who they are. As you mentioned, there are so many things they're afraid of finding. so many darknesses, so many shadows, that they're afraid to look. And in fact, I often have people saying that to me, oh, no, I can't go inside very easily because I don't like what I might find, you know.
Yeah.
People are really scared of
Mhm.
discovering something awful inside them. But they've hidden themselves from that. You know, they've protected themselves. We say over-cherish. They've over-cherished themselves so that they don't realize those things.
But that's where the key is.
That's where the key is.
Yeah.
What happened to you with the hair? I mean, that was a huge symbol.
Yeah. And that got me really, that got me started, because learning how to act or learning acting meant I get to know myself more. So that was really fascinating to me. And I was like, oh, I get to learn myself more, get to know who I am. And then that translates into good, authentic performance. But also in my real life, I didn't know who I was because I never was taught how to do that, or that there was such a thing as real self. I was always putting on what society and parents and family and school expected me to become, right? Be. So I would just borrow that layer and be that. But then I was like, oh, like there's this part of me. And what does that look like when I apply that to my performance or my conversation with my friends or anywhere? Then that becomes me, and very unique performance that only you can do, because you can be you're the only person who can be the best version of you, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, it's common sense, isn't it? But very often things that are common sense, you know, we miss, don't we? I think the process of discovering yourself is, of course, painful in some ways. Of course it is. Because you're measuring yourself against other standards, as you did, you know, your family, your society, your university, whatever it is. But once you move away from all that and you realize that the only way you can be truly happy, really, is to know yourself. It's not just about your performance and your job and so on. It's about daily living. I mean, I couldn't imagine not knowing myself in daily life now at all. It's such a pleasure to be me. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm wonderful and perfect, far from it, but it is a pleasure to be myself, whatever I am, you know, however I am. And I do believe that the goodness comes through once you personally accept your own goodness and you throw out all the critical stuff, the self-criticism.
And I feel like if we don't do that, the burnout and like sickness, illness comes from that disconnect, right? Because we never listen to ourselves, that we force ourselves to either keep pushing and work harder, but we not really, like, body is always sending signals, heart is always sending signal of like what's best for you, the best advice, best direction, but we never learned how to pay attention or care to stop or shut the noise, that we just keep, you know, achieving those goals that people expect. And then sooner or later, you know, disease or something, injury or things will stop. Other things will happen to stop us. So it's really nice to be in this place of really aligned, coherent, authentic place that's really holistic and just supports us like all around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, true happiness, I think, comes from being connected to who you are. Why wouldn't you, in a way? But the simple, very simple solution, all of you out there, is that you just have to put the tool down. So this is great, fabulous, you know, we can do so much. But if we don't put it down, if it's always switched on, we might burn out because it
Mhm.
won't stand the pressure, constant pressure. So use your tools, switch off, then come into your body, into your spirit, into your unlimited mind. And that's where we can be truly ourselves and where we can be truly happy, I believe.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I hope you take away something from this, or something you want to feel and apply from today. Am I in touch with myself? Am I listening to myself? Yes, and we will continue this conversation next week, January
Yes.
14th, same time, same place, a different link, I guess. But we're going to talk about language, the power of the spoken word.
Yes.
Is that it?
Indeed. And this is my favorite topic because I've been dealing with my life as a teacher. And I have, I think, many insights that will help people realize that language is a series of symbols, and we can go below those symbols. And when we go below them, then we find our authentic selves. So, yeah, the language that we use very often may not match our inner values. And so we've got a kind of incongruence there, which can cause lots of trouble. Yeah. So tune in next week, same time, same place, to find out more about how language can be reinvented in a way to suit your authentic self, so that you can be truly aligned. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm excited to share from my theater background as well. Yes, it's the power of language. Theater is the art of the language as well. So we'll talk about this, and I'm so excited to finish up this series with this powerful topic. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And we would love to hear what you thought. Like, please leave us in what you thought in the comments, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. And any questions, leave them and we'll get back to you straight away. And yes, if you want to get the replay, you can request it, and we'll give you the link. So we're here. I'm always on LinkedIn, so you can always find me on LinkedIn. It's been great, Minami. Thanks so much for sharing such intimate things about yourself.
Thank you, Linden.
In order to inspire, I think, openness as mentors, really, as exemplars, if you like, is really unusual, because we're both prepared to really open up and share our journeys with our audience. Super.
Yeah, we know the power of the performing arts. So yeah, we are really excited to share more. And yeah, we both have YouTube channels as well. So yes, follow us there, subscribe, and leave us comments, because we'd love to connect. Yes.
Please do. And don't forget to repost if you're on LinkedIn. That would be really,
right.
That would make great impact and spread the word.
Great.
Okay, we'll leave you there. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Linden.
Thank you. Bye.